My name is Rachel Morris, 30 years old, the youngest daughter in a family that never let me forget my place. Most people in our small town would say my mother is blessed. 4 children, a modest house paid off years ago, and enough savings to keep her comfortable in old age. What they don't know is how quickly blessings can turn into battlegrounds when money and family mix. I discovered it on a Tuesday evening, sitting at the kitchen table with a stack of envelopes. I had just returned from the pharmacy with mom's heart medication, paid out of my own account as usual. I opened a new bank statement expecting the same balance. Instead, my eyes froze on a bold black line. Joint owner added, Linda Carter. Linda, my oldest sister, had never lifted a finger for mom's care. Yet here she was, suddenly listed as co-owner on the very account Dad built decades ago. My stomach dropped. I pulled out the checkbook. Withdrawal of $500 last week. I knew Mom hadn't touched it. She barely left her recliner these days, which meant Linda had already started testing the waters. I drove to the bank the next morning. The clerk, a young man barely out of college, shifted nervously as he pulled up the file. Yes, ma'am. Your sister presented identification and a form signed by your mother. Everything looked in order. I clenched the counter. My mother can't even grip a pen steady. Show me the signature. He slid the screen toward me. The signature sprawled uneven, nothing like Mom's careful cursive. My throat tightened. That's not hers. That's a forgery. The clerk bit his lip. I'm sorry, Miss Morris. I can't make judgments. But if you want, you can request a review. Walking out of the bank, the autumn air felt heavy as stone. Images flashed through my mind. Linda grinning as she waved her shiny SUV keys. Linda bragging at family reunions about trips she could barely afford. I realized she wasn't just greedy. She was desperate, and she had chosen Mom's savings as her lifeline. That evening, I confronted Mom gently. Did you add Linda to your account? Her eyes widened. No, honey. Why would I? You've been handling the bills. I showed her the statement. She shook her head in disbelief, tears welling. I never signed this. I hugged her tightly, fury boiling beneath my calm voice. Then someone else did, and I think we both know who. Later that night, I sat alone scrolling through social media. Linda's page lit up with photos. Dinner at a steakhouse, drinks with her husband, captions about new opportunities on the horizon. Every image felt like a taunt. She wasn't hiding. She was celebrating. The realization hit like a slap. My sister had forged our mother's signature and was already draining the account. If she kept going, the house could be next. The place Dad built brick by brick, where I now tucked Mom into bed each night, and no one else in the family seemed to notice or care. That was the moment I knew. This wasn't just about money. It was about respect, survival, and whether the truth could stand against the lies my sister was weaving. And if I didn't act, Mom's legacy would vanish one withdrawal at a time. The next evening, I drove straight to Linda's house, fury pounding in my veins. She opened the door with a smile too wide, like she'd been expecting applause instead of confrontation. You've been busy, I said, waving the statement in her face. Want to explain how your name magically appeared on Mom's account? Her smile vanished. Calm down. Mom signed it. She told me she wanted stability. Stability? I barked out a laugh. She can barely hold a pen. That's not her signature, and you know it. Behind her, Tom, our brother, appeared with his arms folded. Why are you always dramatic, Jess? You're twisting this. I stared at him, stunned. You're defending this? She's stealing from Mom. Linda's eyes narrowed. Don't call it stealing. I'm protecting her future. You think buying groceries and paying a few bills makes you a hero? Real protection means control. Control of her money, you mean? My voice shook, but stayed sharp. I've carried this family for years while you chased credit cards and vacations, and now you're clawing at Mom's savings. Tom stepped forward, his tone low. Almost threatening. If you cared about family, you'd stop fighting and sign the paperwork. Linda's trying to sell the house before it loses value. The words hit me like ice water. Sell the house? Without telling Mom? Linda lifted her chin. She doesn't need to know every detail. She needs peace, and we're giving it to her. I felt my hands tremble. You're not giving her peace. You're stripping her dignity. Tom smirked. Funny coming from the little sister who never built anything. You just hide behind mom's illness. That house belongs to all of us. Not if you forged her signature. I pulled out my phone and snapped a picture of them both standing there, fury on their faces. Every word you've said tonight, I'll remember. Linda shoved the door harder than necessary, forcing me back onto the porch. You always were a parasite, Jess. If you stand in our way, don't expect to be part of this family anymore. The door slammed shut. For a long moment, I stood in the cold, staring at the porch light flickering overhead. My chest hurt, but beneath the sting was a rising clarity. Back in my car, my phone buzzed with a new message in the family group chat. Linda had already written, "Jessica refuses to cooperate. She doesn't want to help Mom, only to control her." Tom added a thumbs up. Cousins chimed in. "So disappointing, Linda is doing the right thing." My fingers hovered over the screen. Then I typed one line. "Mom is alive. You don't sell her house behind her back. Period." Seconds later, Jessica has left the group. The choice wasn't mine. They had kicked me out. Sitting alone in the dark car, the weight of betrayal pressed hard, but as much as it burned, I realized something else. They thought isolating me would end the fight. They didn't understand. They had just given me freedom to gather proof without them watching. And for the first time in years, I wasn't scared. I was ready. The silence after they kicked me from the family group didn't last long. By morning, Facebook lit up with Linda's long post. "As the eldest, I have to protect Mom. It breaks my heart that Jessica refuses to contribute and only wants to control her finances." She attached a smiling photo of Mom from last Christmas, as if weaponizing her face would make the lies land harder. Within hours, the comments rolled in. Old neighbors. "So disappointing. Aunts and cousins. Linda, you're a saint." Not one person asked for my side. At work, I felt eyes on me. A coworker finally whispered, "Jess, people are saying you kept money meant for your mom's medicine. Is that true?" My throat locked. All I could do was shake my head. That evening, I walked into Mom's room with a tray of soup. She looked up, her eyes red. "Jess, did you really keep money from me?" The words cut deeper than any gossip. I knelt beside her. "No, Mom. Every bill, every pill. I paid. Look." I opened a folder stuffed with receipts, each dated and signed. "This is the truth." She touched the papers with trembling fingers, nodding slowly. But the doubt lingered. Poison. Once poured, seeps into cracks you can't always see. After she fell asleep, I tried calling Linda and Tom. Straight to voicemail. I texted, "Stop lying. If you think you can prove anything, bring evidence." Minutes later, a gray notification flashed. Message not delivered. Blocked. The isolation spread wider. Cousins stopped returning calls. Neighbors looked away in the grocery store. Even at church, whispers trailed behind me. Mrs. Hayes, who'd known me since childhood, pressed her lips thin. "I hope the rumors aren't true, Jessica." I left service early, face burning. Friday night, as I scrolled my empty messages, a screenshot pinged from a sympathetic coworker. It was Linda's new post in a private family group I'd been removed from. "We'll have to sell the house soon. Jessica refuses to help. She's selfish." Underneath, heart emojis and comments. "You're doing the right thing, Linda." I stared at the glow of my phone until my vision blurred. Rage rose, but so did resolve. I began screenshotting everything, each post, each comment, saving them in a cloud folder. They wanted isolation. I would turn it into documentation. At midnight, an unknown number texted, "If you want to keep the house, gather proof." They've already started paperwork. I sat up in bed, pulse racing. Who sent it? A clerk? A neighbor? Or someone who finally believed me? I looked around the quiet house, the oxygen machine humming steady in Mom's room. For the first time, I felt like a stranger in my own home. But I also knew silence wouldn't save me. Evidence would. So I opened my laptop, scanned receipts, organized files by date, and backed them to multiple drives. They thought cutting me out would break me. Instead, it freed me. By dawn, I had a digital fortress of proof. And with every file saved, the isolation felt less like punishment and more like preparation. The turning point came when Linda announced a family meeting at the church fellowship hall. She posted publicly, inviting cousins, aunts, Even neighbors writing, "We need to discuss what's best for mom." Some people refuse to cooperate, so let's air this openly. It was bait, but I took it. If she wanted an audience, she would get one. And evidence, too. That night, I packed a folder: receipts, pharmacy invoices, utility bills, and the notarized power of attorney mom had signed last year. I copied them to a thumb drive and borrowed a projector from work. If they wanted drama, I would deliver it with facts. Saturday afternoon, the hall buzzed with chatter. Folding chairs lined the walls. Mom sat quietly near the front, looking frail in her sweater. Linda stood beside her like a stage director, voice sweet but words sharp. "I called everyone here because Jess refuses to help. She's hoarding mom's money while pretending to be caretaker. We can't let her put mom at risk." Gasps rippled through the crowd. A few cousins nodded. One neighbor muttered, "Shameful." I stepped forward. "That's a lie," Linda smirked. "Then prove it." I plugged in the projector. The first slide flashed on the wall. Receipts, neatly scanned, each showing my name and payments for mom's prescriptions. Murmurs spread. Next slide, utility bills, all paid from my account. Then the notarized power of attorney, signed in front of 2 witnesses. "This is the truth," I said, my voice steady. "Every dollar, every bill. And this document gives me authority to protect mom's assets." Linda's smile faltered. "Anyone can fake papers." From the back, a woman's voice cut through. "Not these." Nurse Alvarez stepped forward, clutching a letter on clinic letterhead. "I see Jessica every week paying and scheduling. She's the one keeping your mother alive." The hall erupted. Aunts whispered. Neighbors pulled out phones, snapping photos. The proof was undeniable. Tom jumped in, red-faced. "She's manipulating all of you. Majority rules. 2 against 1. I switched to the next slide, a screenshot of Tom's text. "Sign, or I'll tell everyone you forged the POA." Gasps turned to angry mutters. "Majority doesn't cover forgery," I said coldly. For a moment, silence pressed heavy. Then, Linda snapped. "This isn't court. This is family. And family doesn't need receipts to know who's selfish." But the crowd wasn't with her anymore. Cousin Mark spoke up. "If you were honest, why hide the property filing?" I froze. "What filing?" Mark frowned. "The intent to sell mom's house. I saw it on the county clerk's website last week. Your names are on it, not Jessica's." The hall erupted again, this time against Linda and Tom. They sputtered, voices drowned by questions and accusations. Someone shouted, "You forged papers!" Another yelled, "You tried to steal her house!" Linda grabbed her bag, her face pale. "This is nonsense!" She stormed out, Tom close behind. I stood before the crowd, shaking but steady. "You asked for proof. You have it. The lies stop here." Neighbors clapped, cousins nodded. Phones kept recording. For the first time, the truth was louder than their smear campaign. But as I gathered my papers, I knew it wasn't over. Cornered animals strike hardest. Linda and Tom had been exposed publicly, and their desperation would only grow. 3 days after the church hall meeting, my phone lit up with an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Jess, it's me." Tom's voice cracked, stripped of his usual swagger. "I need your help, please. Just this once." I almost laughed. "After everything, what could you possibly want?" He exhaled hard. "Creditors, 20,000. They'll sue me if I don't pay this week. If you just sign the property papers, the house will sell quick. Everyone wins." "Everyone?" My tone sharpened. "You mean you?" He dropped his voice, trying for sympathy. "Don't make me desperate." I hung up. Minutes later, a string of texts buzzed through. "Sign, or I'll tell everyone you forged the POA. Courts believe the majority. You're 1 against 2. Mom doesn't even remember what she signed half the time." I saved every message. Threats were just more evidence. That afternoon, an envelope slid under my office door. No return address. Inside was a bank loan application with mom's house listed as collateral, signed by Tom. My stomach twisted. He hadn't just threatened, he had already acted. I called the bank, giving the file number. The woman on the line lowered her voice. "The signature doesn't match prior records. You should contest this immediately." Forgery confirmed by a stranger. My hands shook as I scribbled her words down. That night, Linda showed up unannounced. She stood in my doorway, eyes blazing. Why are you humiliating us online? Do you want mom to be a circus act? I held up the loan document. You forged her name. That's fraud. Her face paled, but she sneered anyway. Paper means nothing if the majority agrees. You'll drown in details. Not if the bank and the court see this. My voice stayed firm. Every copy's backed up. For once, Linda had no comeback. She stormed off, slamming the door. 2 mornings later, Mom's oxygen machine beeped erratically. Panic surged through me as I adjusted it, praying she'd stabilize. When the nurse finally arrived, I stepped onto the porch for air and spotted a thin envelope tucked under the mat. The note inside, scribbled in shaky letters, read, "They're moving fast. Protect the house now. Don't wait." My pulse hammered. Someone else knew. A clerk? A neighbor? Whoever it was, the warning was real. I looked back at the house Dad had built, Mom breathing inside, fragile but alive. Fear clawed at me, but resolve settled deeper. Linda and Tom thought desperation would break me. Instead, it gave me the final weapon, undeniable proof of their greed. Their emergency was about to become their undoing. By the end of the week, I had enough proof to choke a courtroom. Tom's threatening texts, the loan document with Mom's forged signature, and the clinic letter signed by Nurse Alvarez. I called Miss Carter, the attorney who had attended the church hall meeting, and asked her to arrange something formal. Saturday afternoon, we gathered again, this time in Mom's living room. Cousins, aunts, even 2 neighbors who had watched the drama unfold on Facebook sat crowded into the small space. Mom rested in her recliner, quilt tucked around her legs, eyes heavy but alert. At 2 sharp, Linda and Tom walked in. Tom's jaw was tight, his shirt wrinkled like he hadn't slept. Linda wore lipstick too bright for daylight, clutching a leather folder like a weapon. Miss Carter greeted them coolly. "We're here to review contested filings related to Mrs. Morris's property. I've brought witnesses and documentation." Linda scoffed. "Family doesn't need lawyers." "Family didn't need forgery either," I snapped. I spread copies across the coffee table. The loan application, the county filing, and Tom's text messages projected from my phone onto the TV. The room went still. Cousin Mark muttered, "That's his number." Tom's face flushed crimson. "Out of context." I tapped the projector remote. Up flashed the message in bold letters. "Sign or I'll tell everyone you forged the POA." Gasps filled the room. Linda lunged forward, snatching at the papers, but Miss Carter slid them back smoothly. "All copies are digitized and notarized. Destroying them changes nothing." Mom's voice, thin but steady, cut through. "Linda. Tom. Did you really try to sell my house without me?" Linda's lips trembled. "Mom, you don't understand. The stress, Tom's debts. We just needed my home?" Mom's words sliced sharper than mine ever could. Tom slammed his fist against the table. "Enough. 2 against 1. We decide." Miss Carter straightened. "That's not how law works. The power of attorney grants Jessica authority. Any sale without her consent is void, and presenting forged signatures constitutes fraud." A neighbor raised her phone, recording. "Looks like the whole town's going to know," she whispered loudly enough for everyone to hear. The color drained from Linda's face. "You can't prove I signed anything." I leaned forward. "Then why did the bank confirm the signature didn't match Mom's records? Why did you post online about selling a house that wasn't yours to sell? Why did Tom beg me for $20,000 the same night?" The silence afterward was thick as wet cement. Finally, Cousin Mark stood. "I believed you both, but Jess showed us receipts. You showed us lies. I'm done." Murmurs of agreement rippled. Aunts shook their heads. One neighbor muttered, "Shameful." Mom's eyes glistened. "I trusted you. And you tried to take the only thing Dad left us." Tom cursed under his breath, but Miss Carter's calm voice cut him off. "I'll be filing motions Monday to freeze all assets. Any further attempts will invite criminal charges." Linda's composure cracked. She grabbed her bag, her voice shrill. "You think this is over? It's not!" She stormed out, Tom stomping after her, muttering threats. When the door slammed, I finally exhaled, Relatives gathered around, some apologizing, others patting my shoulder. Mom reached for my hand. Thank you, Jess. You saved us. I squeezed her fragile fingers. It's not over, Mom. But today the truth won louder than their lies. The house stayed quiet for days after the confrontation. No more surprise visits, no more posts smeared across Facebook. It was like Linda and Tom had gone underground, licking their wounds. One evening, as I folded laundry in the living room, headlights swept across the window. A knock followed. When I opened the door, Linda stood there, eyes swollen, makeup streaked. Jess, can we talk? I stepped aside, but kept my arms crossed. She sank into a chair, shoulders slumped. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't mean for it to go so far. Tom kept pushing. I thought if we sold the house, at least the debts would be gone. I wasn't thinking about Mom, or you. Her words hung in the air, thin as smoke. I studied her, the sister who once braided my hair before school, who now nearly cost Mom everything. Do you understand what you did? I asked evenly. You forged her name. You tried to erase her voice while she's still alive. Tears welled. I know. And I'll live with that shame. I don't want to lose you forever. I sat across from her, steady. Forgiveness isn't forgetting. I can forgive the blood tie, but trust, that's gone. From now on, you'll have no say in Mom's finances. No keys to this house, no access to her accounts. Boundaries are the only way forward. She nodded weakly. I'll accept that. A long silence stretched. Then she stood, clutching her purse. Thank you for at least hearing me. When the door closed behind her, I leaned back, heart heavy but resolute. Forgiving her didn't mean welcoming her back into control. It meant drawing the line sharp enough that even family couldn't cross. Later that night, I told Mom. She listened, eyes soft. You did right. Love doesn't mean letting someone hurt us twice. I kissed her forehead. Exactly, Mom. We protect each other now. No more signatures without truth. Weeks passed, and the storm finally broke into quiet. The attorney filed motions, the bank froze the account, and the county voided the property filing. Piece by piece, the mess unraveled. For the first time in months, I could sit at the kitchen table without a knot in my chest. One Saturday morning, I brewed coffee and looked out the window at the garden Dad had planted years ago. Mom sat nearby, wrapped in her quilt, humming to herself. The house stood steady, untouched by greedy hands, still ours. I thought back to the night Linda shoved me off the porch, calling me a parasite. To the whispers at church, the Facebook lies, the cousins who turned their backs. I had carried that sting like a stone. But now, with the truth exposed, I realized something important. I had carried Mom through it all too. And that was enough. Neighbors who once looked away now waved again. Cousins sent cautious messages, asking if they could visit. I answered politely, but with distance. The circle I kept would be small, sharp, and safe. Trust wasn't a blanket anymore. It was a lock, and only the deserving held keys. One evening I sat with Mom on the porch. She squeezed my hand and whispered, Your father would be proud. You protected what he built. Tears pricked my eyes, but they weren't heavy. They were light, the kind that washed instead of weighed. I just chose us, Mom. I chose what's right. As the sun dipped, painting the sky orange, I felt a calm I hadn't known in years. The drama hadn't destroyed me, it had clarified me. Family isn't blood by default, it's loyalty proven, protection given, and respect earned. I stood stretching and looked at the house, our house. I wasn't just the youngest daughter anymore. I was the keeper of this legacy, the one who had faced down lies and chosen dignity over silence. And in that moment, the words came clear as breath. I choose me. So here's my story. What would you do in my place? Drop your story and subscribe Big Sister Revenge Stories.